Genesis.
Hey music fans, and welcome back. It is time once again for some Genesis. We are now on Genesis's, what album is this? We got Genesis Revelation, you got Trespass, Nursery Crime, Foxtrot. Okay, this is number 5.
Number 5?
Selling England by the Pound. The Firth of Fifth album by Genesis. Selling England by the Pound. I actually have this one. I don't have any of the ones before it at the moment. I'm looking to remedy that pretty soon. But I do have this one. This was actually the first Peter Gabriel Genesis album that I got. So yeah, here is the record here. Got the guy on the bench with the lawnmower. So, yes, we are going to be reviewing Selling England by the Pound today. We all had generally positive things to say about the previous album, Foxtrot. Jacob, do you have kind of some general thoughts about this particular record?
Yeah. I think it's another good album from Genesis. It does a lot of things that's consistent, especially with the previous 2 albums, especially musically. I do think it's a slight dip from especially the last 2 albums. There's so many epic tracks on Nursery Crime and Foxtrot. And yes, there are some really good songs on this album, but I think I just prefer the other 2 albums as a whole over this one, but that doesn't diminish the fact that it's still a pretty good album.
Okay, so now it's time for
Background information.
And there's not a lot on this one. It's pretty much the same guys back into the studio to record another album. We'll get more background information on the next album, Lamb Lies Down on Broadway, because that one has a lot more background information for it. The only thing I will say about this one is that setting the backdrop for this album, England was kind of in an odd political time, kind of a dark political time in the early 1970s, and so a lot of the lyrics convey that. This is kind of a satire of the British culture at the time, this particular album, Selling England by the Pound. Without further ado, then, we will go ahead and go to track number 1, which is Dancing with the Moonlit Night.
I'm glad you said something about the context of this album, because I honestly had no idea going in until you mentioned it just now. So that's probably why I felt like a disconnect with some of these songs, because it was making reference to stuff I didn't know about, and so a lot of it went over my head, and that's just a point of reference.
I'll fill you in on some information, because on the lyric sheet it even tells you what a lot of the songs are inspired by.
Oh, okay. But yeah, this first song, I think it's a good way to start the album. It's got a really good a cappella intro from Peter Gabriel singing the context of whatever this song is about. There's some really cool musical stuff in here. I especially love Phil Collins drumming. This one, I don't think I have much to say on this one. It's just a really neat way to start off the album. Does a good job at playing with tempo. It's slow, and then it picks up. There's some good instrumental breaks on this song. I think I like it just enough. There's not that many tracks on the album, but it's at least in my top 5.
I think this song is epic. I love how it opens with just the vocals, and then Steve Hackett comes in, and then Phil Collins comes in with that kind of odd drum beat. It's so cool. And then Tony Banks enters with that ba 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 da 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 da, and then it kind of sounds very triumphant there whenever it gets to the stepping out with the moonlit night, and then you get into the epic jam section where it's like bow 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 bow, and you get Steve Hackett and Tony Banks kind of doing these arpeggio things.
Yeah.
It's super cool, and then it kind of goes back to being a bit slower at the end. But this song is very epic. one of the most epic songs on this album, and I think it is a great way to start out the album. So
Even
next,
though sorry. Even though I don't know the context of this song, I read the song was almost called Disney. Whatever that means.
okay. Okay, we are now getting to our second song, and let me tell you, it's 12 o'clock and it's time for lunch. Bum-de-dum-de-dum. I know what I like in your wardrobe.
Yeah, this song is awesome. I think I had heard this one before listening to the album. I think either you or Scott was like, hey, we should show this song. And I heard it, and I'm like, okay. The more I listen to it, the more it's one of my favorite songs on the album. I think the best way to describe this song to any newcomers to Genesis is probably the closest thing you get to Genesis doing a Beatles-type song with the sharp wit and humor that made early Genesis so good. If I can sum up the storytelling of this song, it's some guy who some young guy who mows the lawn at some caretaker's house, and he's content with where he is. But he's able to pick up on some juicy information because of it, because of the people that run the place. And there's this funny line where even Peter Gabriel's like, I'm a lawnmower.
I'm just a lawnmower. You can tell me by the way I walk.
Yeah, that's the full line. And I love the guitar on this song. There's some cool percussion from Phil Collins. I like the harmonies in the chorus. I'm surprised this wasn't a hit single. Like, this could have been a hit single.
About that. I'll let you know whenever I get to my turn.
But, yeah, I think it's a great song. One of my favorites on the album.
So this was the only song that they released as a single from this album, as far as I know.
That makes sense.
This is their first single to actually hit the top 100. Now, it charted very low, but this was their very first minor hit song. If you look in the inside lyric sheet, says that the lyrics to this song are inspired by the cover painting. So apparently I'm guessing that Peter Gabriel just took a look at this painting of this guy with the lawnmower and thought, I wonder what this lawnmower guy does, and wrote this song. But this song is very British. It's got funny humor in it. Starts out where you just hear the lawnmower noises, and then you get Phil Collins laying down that drum beat, and then you just hear like, it's 12 o'clock and it's time for lunch. Bum-de-dum-de-dum. When I lay my head down on the bench, or something like that. And then you get into the song, and it's got a really great groove, kind of talking about all the people that are around this place where this lawnmower is working. And then you get the chorus. I know what I like, and I like what I know. And Tony Banks is playing a really cool synth part underneath the chorus. It's really great. Yeah, this is another one of my favorites on the album. The song is amazing. Now we're going to move on to our third song, which is Firth of Fifth.
All right. The best takeaway I have with this song is it has some really cool stuff in it musically. There's this really cool piano part that opens the song by Tony Banks. There's another really good guitar solo near the end of the song. It's pretty good. There's a flute solo by Peter Gabriel in the middle of the song. I've seen people describe this as one of the greatest pieces, the finest pieces of progressive rock ever recorded. When I hear that claim, I'm like, did you guys listen to Supper's Ready? I think that song's even better. But I can't complain too much about this song. I don't fully understand what this song is lyrically. Something about a river. And then there's a lot of excessive playing. But instrument-wise, this song is pretty cool. And it's another one where I would say it's in my top 5 songs on the album.
I think this song is epic. I looked it up. Apparently there is a river in England called the Firth of Forth. And so it's a little play on words there.
Gotcha.
I love Tony Banks's piano intro on this. And then you get the singing, and Phil Collins' drumming whenever he enters with the singing is really cool. It just sounds very triumphant, and then it kind of breaks down and you get this little flute solo from Peter Gabriel, where Peter Gabriel is introducing a motif that later is repeated by Steve Hackett in the guitar solo, in the flute solo here, that bow do 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 do. That's what I really like about this song, is it's very kind of classically inspired. You got that piano intro that's in an odd time signature. You got this flute solo introducing a theme that you'll hear later. And then the best part is after they go again, it kind of gets quiet, and then Steve Hackett enters, and oh my goodness, his guitar solo on this is so good. Especially whenever he gets to the part where he plays that bow do 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 do, and then Tony Banks comes in with the mellotron behind that. It just sounds epic. Like, I just picture Steve Hackett standing on top of a mountain or something with rivers flowing down beneath and like waves crashing up. And it's just some epic picture that whenever he plays this guitar solo that waves crash up and I don't know, lightning strikes or something like that. That's the best way I can describe it, because it just evokes this feeling of epicness whenever that guitar solo comes in. And man, Steve Hackett's sustain on that guitar solo, he can hold those notes for a long time and they don't lose any power. And whenever it he holds it out and it's fading a little bit, then he'll start bending it a little bit to kind of get it even more time there. It's just absolutely incredible. This song is fantastic. It's one of my favorite Genesis songs. We are now going to get to our fourth song on the first side, which is another lead vocal from Phil Collins called More Fool Me.
All right. So this is the second time Phil Collins has led a Genesis song. The first one was on Nursery Crime, and it was For Absent Friends, if I remember correctly.
Yes.
And that one I was kind of on. I think Phil Collins was trying way too hard to imitate Peter Gabriel, and it didn't really stand out to me. This song, I think it's a big improvement over the last song. And the simple reason is I feel like Phil Collins has his own voice on this song. It's different than what he would do in the 80s and in his solo career, obviously. We're still in prog rock Genesis. But I like that he has his own song where he gets his chance to shine. This might be the most simplistic song on the album because it's the shortest song, not counting the final song. The final, real song.
Oh, Isle of Plenty?
Yeah. And it's feels more like a folk tune compared to the other songs on the album. But yet, I love the vocal delivery on it. I love the guitar part. And it has a really infectious chorus that I really like. And I'm going to say now, this is in my top 3. I think this song is awesome.
Oh, wow. Yeah, this song is amazing. I'm not going to say it's on the same level as Misunderstanding or Land of Confusion, but it's a pretty solid early ballad from Phil here. I love Steve Hackett's guitar playing, how it's kind of just Steve Hackett's guitar and Phil singing, kind of the only things you hear on the song. It's just, especially after hearing the almost excessive nature of For the Fifth and then getting to the more stripped back sound of More Fool Me, it's just perfect sequencing on their end here. Putting a very extravagant song and then a very more simple song here. And always good to hear Phil on vocals. I love every time that Phil gets to sing, both in the later Genesis and even on these early times. Big improvement from For Absent Friends. I like this one a lot better. Okay, so you know what time it is. It is time to flip the record and go to side number 2, where we're going to get to the Battle of Epping Forest, which, before you do you a review on this. I read the lyric sheet and it says it's. Hold on a second. I want to read exactly what it says. It says, the Battle of Epping Forest is taken from a news story concerning two rival gangs fighting over East End protection rights.
Okay. Again, I'm glad you brought that up, because literally the first time I heard this song, I thought this was talking about a medieval battle. Just because there's a reference to Robin Hood in it. It's good to know the context of these things. Actually, it was the second listen where I'm like, okay, this had to happen at that certain time because there's a reference to cars. I'm like, they didn't have cars during the days of Robin Hood. But yeah, I think it's a really cool song. To me, my favorite part about this whole song is the intro, where it's just drumming. You got like some whistling in the background. It sounds like people are marching, going off in the battle. And it's like, okay, it's poised to be an epic Genesis song. All right, I'm hyped. Let's get into it. And I can't say I love this song. There's the makings of a great song in here, though. I like it when they rock out. They sing the chorus, well, the Battle of Epping Forest. And there's some really good, again, musicality from all five members of the band. I think it gets a little too complex for its own good. I think they're trying to do the similar approach they did, I think, very successfully with Get 'Em Out by Friday on the previous album, where Phil Collins is singing, playing different characters and different perspectives. But at least with Get 'Em Out by Friday, it's like 2 or 3 different people, and you can still tell what's going on in the story. But here he's like shifting between I don't know how many characters, and by the end of it, I'm like, I don't know who's on which side and what's actually going on, and it's hard for me to care about the Battle of Epping Forest, whatever this is between two rival gangs. And also, I will say I was a little disappointed in the ending of the song. It's like, the Black Cat flipped a coin, and that determines the match, and we don't know who wins. So I'm like, it's kind of an anticlimax there, but it's still a cool song musically. It's not my favorite song on the album. It's not hot garbage or anything. It's one that's like so close, but it missed the mark a little bit from being a truly great Genesis song.
Okay, I like this song. I really like this song. But that being said, I do think this is probably my least favorite song on the album. And here's why. It just has a few problems. The first of which, and that this problem is not very true of Genesis songs very often, so I'm surprised, but it's way too wordy. Like, if you look at the lyric sheet, 75% of the second page of the lyric sheet is this song.
Wow.
And I heard that it was supposed to be shorter, but Peter Gabriel kind of just kept writing and was like, oh, this is funny, let's put that in. But they should have made less lyrics to this song, because it's very confusing. Like, I like hearing the instrumentals on this, and like some of the sections are funny, where it's kind of like him doing different characters and stuff. But it is like, and I like long Genesis songs like Supper's Ready, but like this one's kind of confusing. It's like, what's going on here at this particular section? Like, it's still very good, it's just, I don't know, something about it just isn't quite as good as the other songs on this album, if that makes any sense.
Yeah. The one thing I will take away from this battle is that Peter Gabriel loves having picnics. Picnic!
Yes. Picnic. Bow, down, 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 down. So, yeah, it's a good way to open the second side. It's just, maybe it would have been better if there was a little bit less lyrics to this, because that makes it more confusing. But I still will give it generally positive reviews. It's just kind of nitpicky things. We are now going to get to our next song, which is called After the Ordeal. It's an instrumental.
This is probably my least favorite on the album. And that's mainly because I don't gravitate primarily toward instrumentals, and yeah, the playing on it is good, but it just seemed like a filler transition to get from one long song to the next long song, and that's all I got to say on that.
I really like this instrumental. I think that it is much better than Horizons, because Horizons is just Steve Hackett, which I still really liked Horizons. But that's just Steve Hackett. This is an instrumental where you get the full band here. And yes, the two shorter songs on the second side do kind of function more as augmentations of the longer songs rather than songs of their own. Like, this is kind of like the intro to the cinema show, and Isle of Plenty kind of feels like the outro of the cinema show. But still, in the context of the album, it's very good getting to hear this little nice instrumental piece. And speaking of the cinema show, that is their next song, the cinema show.
All right. Yeah, this song is amazing. I like the kind of the soft acoustics of the song as it begins. Lyrically, it's kind of weird because they do some analogies with Romeo and Juliet and talks about the cinema show. So I don't know if it's supposed to represent an actual movie or it's just different events that people live, feeling like you're living out like you're in your own little movie. But regardless, I think it's a really cool song. I love Peter Gabriel's vocals, especially where he goes, "The cinema show." And it's mostly a long instrumental piece, and which is kind of weird because I didn't like the last instrumental song. It's strictly an instrumental, but I think if you have lyrics in the mix with it, I don't mind long instrumental sections, and this song is no exception. Especially when you get to the back half of this song. It changes time signatures. It's in this funky little time signature that's hardly played. I'm sure it was a nightmare for these artists to keep in rhythm on this thing, but they were able to pull it off. I think Phil Collins, you got to thank for that, him keeping time.
I think it's in 7.
Yeah, I think I did read it was in 7.
Because I remember grooving along with it. I'm like, wait a second, why am I feeling 1 2 1 2 1 2 3 1 2 1 2 1 2 3? Yeah, this is in 7.
Yeah, it was definitely a strange time signature, especially for a song like this. And then you get this synth solo. I think it's who's the one that does the solo?
Tony Banks.
Tony Banks. I should remember that. Tony Banks does a synth solo that dominates the second half of the song. I'm really vibing along to it. I'm like, okay, this solo is very much ahead of its time. You could have done this solo in any 80s rock song and it would have sounded cool, but you have this extended synth solo in a prog rock type setting. And it's one of the coolest solos I've ever heard in a song like this. And I think that puts it up as one of the best songs on the album. And it's a really cool way to close out the album too, I'll admit. Don't tell the genius about this song though. He doesn't like synthesizers.
He might have said he would have liked it better if he'd have just played it on the organ. Yeah, this song is epic. So I remember when I first listened to this album, I didn't like this song. I don't know why, because I re-listened to this song for the review, played the second half of this record, and I'm like, dude, the cinema show is epic. The first half is kind of like a little ballad talking about this actress, and then you get that epic instrumental. Tony Banks' synthesizer is insanely good on here. Oh my goodness, it is crazy. And this kind of pointing to what you're going to hear on the next album, The Lamb Lies Down on Broadway. There's this kind of synthesizer all over that album. Lots more synthesizer on Lamb Lies Down on Broadway. In the past few albums, he does like Mellotron and a little bit of synthesizer, but it's mainly Mellotron, piano, and organ. And then the next album, he's going to start playing a lot more synthesizers. So it's kind of pointing towards that. It's just, man, you really just got to listen to it and groove with it, because that's really the best way to enjoy this song. Because when I was listening to it, I'm like, in the first half with the ballad, I'm like, wow, this is really cool. I like this little ballad here. But then when it started getting into the part with the synthesizer solo, I was like, ooh, yeah. And then you got Phil Collins drumming underneath. The synthesizer solo is amazing. And of course, Mike Rutherford on the bass and Steve Hackett on the guitar as well. But this song is really good. And if you've not heard it yet, check out the live version of this song on the Genesis Seconds Out live album, where Phil Collins sings it. And apparently Bill Bruford from Yes does the drumming in the first half, but then when it gets to the synthesizer part, Phil jumps back on the kit and plays the drums. It's, dare I say, just as good as the studio version, maybe even better.
Oh.
Our final song, which I feel is more like a coda to the cinema show rather than an actual song in itself, but that would be Isle of Plenty.
Yeah, I kind of would have preferred if this was actually with the cinema show, that instead of it being its own song, because this feels like a tacked on epilogue. It's kind of weird because the song is like a repeat of a phrase in the first song, The Moonlit Night. And then it was like these weird tongue-in-cheek references to, you mentioned about what was going on at the time. There's like weird references to supermarkets and stuff. And I'm like, is he trying to be like meta tongue-in-cheek? Because I'm not getting the humor here as 21st century American trying to get into Genesis.
Yeah. So I think I really like this song as a coda to the cinema show, but I would never probably listen to this on its own because it's pretty much just the end of the cinema show. Like, why not make the title of the song The Cinema Show / Isle of Plenty and not make them separate tracks? Because I love how it's a reprise of Dancing with the Moonlit Night. I didn't catch that till the last time I listened to the album. I heard him singing, and I'm like, wait a second, I've heard this before. What song is this? Oh, it's Dancing with the Moonlit Night. That's the melody of that. And then I have the lyric sheet with me, and the lyric sheet writes out all of the supermarket references, and I'm like, what is this? Because it's like beef at whatever price. Maybe he's just complaining about high prices at the supermarkets, selling England by the pound, that like the supermarket prices had to go up or something like that. We already talked about raising the rent on the last album. Maybe now he's complaining about high supermarket prices. But anyway, I think it's a good conclusion to the album, harkening back to the first song and bringing everything full circle. It's just, this doesn't really stand well on its own. It just it has to be played directly after the cinema show.
Mm-hmm.
But that is going to bring us now to our top 5 songs and our final score of the album.
All right. I'll just rank the 8 songs.
Okay.
Number 8 at the bottom, the instrumental, After the Ordeal. Number 7, because we're ranking it on its own, Isle of Plenty. Number 6, The Battle of Epping Forest. Top 5. This was not a coincidence. But number 5 is Firth of Fifth. Number 4, Dancing with the Moonlit Night. Number 3, More Fool Me. Number 2, I Know What I Like. Number 1, The Cinema Show.
I'll go ahead and rank them all, but I'm going to put Isle of Plenty in with the cinema show and just do 7. So number 7 is going to be Battle of Epping Forest. Still really like it, but it's wordy, like I mentioned earlier. 6 is After the Ordeal. 5, top 5, More Fool Me. Really like that one. Number 4 is going to be... man. Okay, 5 is More Fool Me. 4 is going to be I Know What I Like in Your Wardrobe. 3 will be Dancing with the Moonlit Night. Number 2, The Cinema Show / Isle of Plenty. And number 1, Firth the Fifth. I love that song. It's
All right.
epic. So, what do you give this album?
All right. So the previous two Genesis albums, I gave a 9 out of 10. I think they're great albums, great representations of this era of Genesis. I do think this album is a slight step down. There are some great songs on this album. There's some songs that are close to being great, but they miss the mark a little bit. But the instrumentation is still really good. There's still some good highlights on this album. I don't think it reaches the highs of their last two albums, but I still think it's a good album in its own right. I still think it's worth a listen if you're a fan of Genesis. So for me, I will give this album an 8 out of 10.
So this is odd for me because this is the first time that I have given 3 albums in a row 10 out of 10.
Wow.
I don't believe it. I really don't believe it. But I'm listening to it again. It's like, wow, this album is fantastic. In fact, I think I might like this more than Nursery Crime. Currently debating on whether I like it more than Foxtrot or not, because Foxtrot kind of has Suppers Ready, which really gives it a foot up. But then this one has like Firth the Fifth and Cinema Show and Dancing with the Moonlit Night and I Know What I Like and More Fool Me, which those songs I like more than some of the songs on Foxtrot, which is going to make it difficult to do a ranking. But it's this one and Foxtrot are currently gunning for the top spot right now. This is another fantastic album from Genesis, and I'm really excited to get to go through the next several ones because we got Lamb Lies Down on Broadway, epic double album. We got Trick of the Tail, which is Phil Collins' first one on lead vocals, which that one is, oh my goodness, that one is amazing. And then Wind and Wuthering is going to be the second one with Phil on vocals. I just re-listened to that one, and that one's really good too.
Right. Yeah, like I said, I can't decide which one's my favorite Genesis album at the moment because I think Nursery Crime is awesome, and so is Foxtrot. Both albums have really amazing songs on it. Nursery Crime's got the Giant Hogweed and the Musical Box, Harold the Barrel, and then Foxtrot has Supper's Ready and Watcher of the Skies. Get them out by Friday. So it's like battles between those two albums.
Oh, by the way, I listened to my roommate Tyler. He got a 2-record set with Nursery Crime and Foxtrot. And listened to Foxtrot on the big speakers today, and let me just tell you have not heard Supper's Ready until you've heard it through huge speakers on a nice sound system on a record. It is a completely different experience, and it's even better that way. It was amazing, like mind-blowingly good. As soon as the song ended, like both of us just wouldn't say anything for like 30 seconds because we had to like take in what had just happened. But that is the end of the Selling England by the Pound review. Thank you very much for watching. Please join us next time whenever we tackle the epic double album and the final one from Peter Gabriel. The Lamb Lies Down on Broadway. All right. See you next time.